This is the Spurs POSTCAST, your instant game reaction for the San Antonio Spurs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Well, you might have heard by now the San Antonio Spurs pretty good at what they do. They've become quite the touring attraction, not only across the league, but a couple hours north of San Antonio. And for the first time in the very brief history of the I-35 series, they come back twice winners tonight, taking care of business of the Sacramento Kings. Welcome into the Spurs Postcast right here on Locked On Spurs, part of the Locked On Podcast, the number one sports podcast network, the Locked On Podcast Network, that is. He is NBA champion Devin Brown. I'm Casey Viera. 139-122 is what the final digits read. It's the 8th straight win for the Spurs. They do it at the Moody Center again in front of a packed house, a vibrant crowd, and everything you kind of really wanted to see. They took care of business. And again, 40 wins now. 40 wins on an 8-game win streak. Pretty good all the way around.
It was a old ABA game tonight, Casey. So let's get into it.
This is what you'll be talking about.
Yeah, and for as much as the score margin ultimately, look, what is that? That was a 17-point game. It felt like that from the start because they started the game on an 11-0 run. Ultimately, they're up by 5 after 1, but then it kind of disappeared. They got a little sloppy in the second quarter, fell behind by 2, 3, 4 points, and ultimately got their act together to go up by 8 at the end of the first half of play. And another good, like you said, an ABA first half where they hit over 50% of their shots. They put up 73 points against the Sacramento team, mind you. Not very good. Worst in the league coming in, worst record in the league. All their superstars are shut down for the season. Domas Sabonis, Zach LaVine, undergoing season-ending surgeries earlier this week. The name brands, DeMar DeRozan, Russell Westbrook, obviously not of the prime status. So going in, the Spurs very much had the upper hand, at least from the talent standpoint. But in the third quarter, credit to Sacramento, and kind of one of those nights where veterans will be veterans and just kept the team alive at that point. This is a Kings team that came in with only 3 road wins the entire season. But ultimately, the Spurs, I guess I was going to use the word tired legs, but they were just kind of sleepwalking. I think that's probably the best way to describe it through the first 2 and 3 quarters, if you will, because they get a little momentum going at the back end. Victor and Harrison Barnes hit a couple of threes to turn a 5-point game into an 11-point game at the end of 3. And then the fourth quarter, they just go electric. A whole bunch of dunks. They had 5 dunks. Victor's rocking the baby out there. Harper is putting people on posters. They blow the game open, go up by as many as 28. And obviously the final margin reads decisive as well. Wemby goes 28, 15, and 6, 4 blocks. Fox 18 and 5, Castle 18 and 8. They hit over 55% of their shots. 59 bench points. We'll hit on more on that in a minute. And collectively, you can't complain about 8 straight wins because, well, yeah, the end result, it's a dub. But check this number out, my friend. They've scored 120 in 6 straight games. That's the most since 1984. So all good things. All good things, especially in that fourth quarter.
Yeah, well, they're definitely clicking offensively, moving the ball around. These 2 games have been a great example of them moving the ball around. I felt like before the All-Star break, the ball would get stuck at times. You haven't seen that a whole lot. Castle's doing a good job running the offense. De'Aaron Fox, he's always going to be around that 16 to 24 number. Another solid night for him tonight. But yeah, I mean, all around, when you look at the pace of how San Antonio is playing, they're getting up and down the floor, and they're making the team work. When Sacramento was on offense tonight, they're making them go to their second and third options. So it's a lot of good stuff that you're seeing out of them right now, 2 games into this, Casey. So you hope that they can continue to play at this level.
32 assists on 52 makes is what the final stat line reads tonight. 18 turnovers, but when you hit over 50% of your shots, you survive that. And that's ultimately what they did. I also like the fact that this is kind of the second straight game where we've seen them play a team that third straight, now that I say that out loud, because this was the case against Golden State. They play a team that they're superior in talent. And maybe at the start of the season, December, even as much as recent as last month and in January, they let some of these teams hang around, and next thing you know, it's competitive come the fourth quarter. But between the Golden State game, in which they ultimately turned it up to 11 after trailing going into the fourth quarter, and then won by double digits, and yesterday, or 2 days ago now, should say Thursday, against Phoenix without Devin Booker, turned a 12-point game for the first half of play. It was never close, never got cute after that, and they ran away with it. Tonight, Sacramento hung tough. Spurs go on a run, and it's not just a run where they take the lead, extend the lead. It's one where they break the game open, and that's something that we have not seen a ton up until recently, up until this 8-game win streak. And for me, that's tremendously encouraging. I understand it's the Kings. I understand it's a Suns team that was essentially without Devin Booker. I understand it's Golden State without Stephen Curry. But the only thing you can do is go out there and continue to show positive signs on that front that you've learned. And those are type of things, man, I look at as real positive signs of growth.
Well, I think that they're, obviously they're playing through Victor more in these 2 games in Austin. But, it's his passing, the willing to share the basketball that he's doing because, he's being effective in attacking right now. You're seeing him in the paint a lot. And obviously, if he's, taking your trail threes and things like that, I don't think the Spurs have a problem with that. But he is getting double teamed and sometimes 3 people. And what it is these guys are knocking down shots now on a consistent basis. You saw that in these 2 games. And when you do that, and if you continue to play through him, things like this will happen.
It really feels like he's finding his stride. And I think that kind of goes with the fact that they've won 8 in a row, because the month of February, which has gone hand in hand with this win streak, the 8 games, they haven't lost in the month of February. The numbers read 25, 11, 3 blocks, a steal and a half, 54% from the field, 35% from 3. I mean, that just kind of tells you it right there, right? And sometimes I feel like basketball is tremendously simple. You go as your superstar goes. And there's been times this year where Victor has shown really high highs, and then 2 nights later, it'd be like a bottom out type deal. And the game prior to all this, it was kind of one of those bottom out deals where he had a 6 of 15 shooting night, and then they lost in Charlotte in that ugly game that they had there. But obviously, this is the type of thing that goes hand in hand. And to no one's surprise, they're winning basketball games because of it.
Well, for Victor, it's seeing a familiar face. The young man he was going against, they've known each other since they were, 14? And so, Victor seemed like he had a chip on his shoulder. And Ramon, I believe that was his name. But he attacked him. And no, Victor, as long as he doesn't get careless with the basketball, you saw one time, I believe it's the second quarter, he tried to wrap some pass around the court to the corner to Keldon. How it got through, I don't know. Only Victor can throw passes like that. But as long as he doesn't get careless with the basketball, everybody trusts him. They know he's going to make great decisions.
As was, if we're talking about great and a great decision, Mitch Johnson, a great decision to go to his bench tonight. 59 points, really an X factor, if you will. But the biggest of the X factors of that, 3 guys in particular.
It's time to reveal who made the biggest under-the-radar impact with today's X Factor.
18 for Keldon Johnson, 12, 5 and 5 for Dylan Harper, 14 for Harrison Barnes, Mr. 100. Add that math up. 44 of the 59 bench points. In a game or stretch, I should say, this rodeo road trip, and I'm aware it looks a little bit different. We've talked about that at length. You want to find ways to preserve your guys' minutes. And if you have the bench going out there scoring 44 points or 59 points, 44 of them coming from those 3 alone, again, what more could you ask for, right?
Yeah, and here's the big deal about that, Casey, is the fact that when Sacramento got on that run, Mitch called timeout. He stayed with those guys. Normally, in a situation like that, when you have a big lead, the other team comes back, a lot of head coaches will go back with their starters. That's what see Coach Mitch evolving is he's got to be able to trust these guys because he knows come playoff time, you're not going to be able to stretch your starters for all that long. So these three, and that's why we picked them tonight. They were huge. Keldon's doing his thing. Harrison Barnes and that bench row, I think it suits them better. Just that veteran leadership. And then Harper's continuing to play well. We saw him attacking the rim with a dunk, very impressive dunk, by the way. But yeah, those three tonight get that award just because they were huge. And like you said, you're able to rest your starters and not, play them too many minutes in a game like this.
One thing Dylan Harper did not do well tonight, that was hit the drum at the end of the game. Oh my goodness, man.
I didn't see it. I was getting ready for our lovely show. I did not see that. Did he miss the drum?
I will say Jacob and Sean, they had fun with it. And Sean, paraphrasing here, he said, basically, he hit the drum the same way that I dance.
Oh.
So I will let
I've seen Sean dance.
I will let you use your imagination as to how that may or may not look.
Well, Sean's dancing, I will give him this credit, is not as bad as Elaine. I don't know if you remember that from Seinfeld, but it's not that bad.
Yeah. I like that reference, man. You know me, I'm a Northeast. Well, we're very much representing the Northeast tonight. I feel like, Seinfeld doesn't have this, Seinfeld was a big deal, but it had a real resonating impact up there in New York. So, different times. On the topic of going to the Northeast, going to the East Coast, that's next on the agenda for the San Antonio Spurs, because this is the part of the rodeo road trip where I guess you could say the rodeo aspect of it really, really picks up. 5-game East Coast road swing, and it starts on Monday night against the best team in basketball, record-wise at least, against the Detroit Pistons in their building. So on the other side, we talk about how they turn all this good stuff from the first half of the rodeo road trip, these first 4 wins, this 8-game winning streak, and they carry it into the real meat of it, because you want to talk about rodeo road trip of years past. This is starting Monday. This is where it's really going to get ugly potentially. From a travel standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm going for. Got that for you coming up on the other side of the break right here on the Spurs postcast on Locked On Spurs, following a convincing victory for San Antonio's Silver and Black, picking up their 40th win, their 8th in a row as they take care of the Kings. But before we get to all that on the other side, let's talk about our friends who help in getting this program on the air, and the ones that are keeping you well fed, maybe some celebratory eats tonight. The season heats up, and DoorDash, they got a way to keep the fans in the bag all year long. Not only tonight, all year long. Whether you're watching the highlights, the tunnel fits, your favorite player, DoorDash makes the entire season more fun because every player has their bag. And with DoorDash, the fans can have one too. Keep the snacks stocked, your gear fresh, your watch party vibes absolutely on point. From tip-off to OT, stay in your bag, order there, snacks, drinks, gear, whatever gets you through the season, delivered right to your door with DoorDash. In your bag all season long. Always good to be operating on a full stomach when you're running your businesses, as it is, just from the pure standpoint of making sure that your team is streamlined and as a whole, right? It's one of the quickest ways to excel and the quickest ways to fall apart if you're not communicating on the same front. That's why today's episode is brought to you by Quo, spelled Q-U-O, the smarter way to run your business communications. Because when your team is reachable, organized, communicating in one place, you're not working cleaner, not only working cleaner, you're working to get more opportunities with customers. So that said, it's not a surprise they're the #1 business rated phone system on G2. 90,000 businesses can vouch for it, from solo operators to growing teams. So make this year where no opportunity, no customer go to waste. They don't slip away. Try it for free, 20% off your first 6 months when you go to quo.com/lockedonnba, quo.com/lockedonnba with Quo. No missed calls and no missed customers. Might notice I have a little pep in my step tonight. Yeah, because of the win, but I'm feeling good. I also tried 5-hour, one of these new 5-hour energies that they got going on, because they have a lot of new flavors to expand with. I checked out this confetti craze, and it's got me feeling pretty good because the flavors are set, the board's ready, and you got to take a look at all the stuff they got going on. A wide variety of flavors for something for everyone. Like I said, this confetti craze type deal, it's kind of like a birthday cake, cotton candy. And then if you're basic, the cherry and pomegranates of the world. So find your flavor today with 5-Hour Energy. Their shots, of course, available online, 5energy.com or at Amazon. All right, fun start of the rodeo road trip. Fun part of the rodeo road trip awaits San Antonio starting on Monday, like we said before the break, against the Detroit Pistons, who have been nothing short of fantastic this year and probably have the MVP of the league because I have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander fatigue. I have Jokic fatigue, and giving Cade Cunningham an MVP would probably be very well deserved. Detroit, Toronto, Brooklyn, Knicks, Philly, from Monday to the following Tuesday, 5 games in 8 days. This, as we know, like we said on the other side, was a different part of the rodeo road trip. This is where things really get tough. How does a team like this really turn on the gears and turn that focus, especially when the competition is as good as it gets coming up on Monday night?
Well, Detroit's had, 2 games also since the All-Star break on the road and just blasted their competition. This, I believe, is going to be their first home game, so there's going to be a lot of excitement for the home crowd. This is going to be the perfect test for this young San Antonio basketball team, and I know that they're going to be up for the challenge. Mitch will have those guys ready, but let's get into the meat of what it is that they're going to see. This Detroit team is tough as they get. They follow their head coach, JB Bickerstaff, having a tremendous year. It was just a year or two ago they lost 28 in a row.
Yep.
And to have this kind of turnaround, a healthy Cade, he's playing at a high level. Castle, that's going to be his matchup. You really don't want De'Aaron guarding somebody like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then inside with Jalen Duren, it's going to be a great matchup. And it's going to be great for Victor because he's going to go against a physical center that's not going to back down on either side. So it's going to be a great test. But like I said, San Antonio, you get geared up for these games because you're right there, one of the best teams in the West. You got the best team in the East. Casey, this is going to be a heavyweight battle.
Mm-hmm. Did you ever think we'd be in a world where we would be February 21st and we'd be talking about a very realistic possibility on Monday of a NBA Finals preview between the Detroit Pistons and the San Antonio Spurs in the year 2026?
And not 2005?
And not 2005.
That's a good plug. 2005 crowd. That's a good plug, Casey. Y'all like that. But no, not at all. Look,
I lobbed that up for you.
But here's the thing. The San Antonio got off to a great start to the season, and Detroit's kind of, been where they are the whole year. And now you have plenty of games behind your belt to really see where it is you're going to be. So NBA Finals preview, I like that. It's a long way for both teams to get there because, when the playoffs comes, there's going to be some good competition out there. But I think if you're San Antonio, you got to see how you're going to play against somebody that wants to out-execute you, play hard, and is a very, very physical basketball team. And please don't let me leave this out, Casey.
Don't.
Detroit's bench is very, very good.
Yeah. No Isaiah Stewart, though, still serving that suspension from that brawl in Charlotte. So he will not be at JB Bickerstaff's usage or availability.
Somewhere, well, in Austin, Victor's smiling about that. That guy is a menace.
They can go deep into the bench. I mean, the other day when they were in New York, they were playing without Duren. They were playing without Beef Stew over there, and they still gave Karl Anthony Towns all sorts of issue in New York. But looking at Detroit, do you like? I feel like the Spurs have a chance to be in kind of like a very similar trajectory of Detroit this year because they had. Obviously, last year they were fantastic in the sense that they had a complete turnaround. They make the playoffs. They have that heartbreaking series of a finish when Brunson just kills them in that game 6 and hits the shot in Sarr's face. But do you kind of like subscribe to this idea that we see a lot of the times where we see some of these young playoff teams like that, like Detroit last year, they need an aspect of heartbreak to kind of, get their feet wet of it into something like this before they can grow again? And point that I'm getting at is like, would something like that benefit the Spurs, or how much would something like that benefit the Spurs? Because I think both of us review the Spurs right now as a really good team, but in all likelihood, it's probably not going to end with a championship this season. Never know, but probably not. So the point that I'm kind of getting at is how much does a losing experience like that for Detroit really make such of an impact to, have them excel the way that it had this year?
Well, for Detroit, it's huge, because it seems like every game they carry that in. I saw them against Charlotte the other day, and Charlotte did a great job of hanging in there. This was before the All-Star break. Charlotte did a great job of hanging in the game, going to their guys, running plays, this and that. But Cade just is at another level. Mm-hmm. And it's just not him. Like I said, their bench came in and just destroyed Charlotte. And so they end up blowing that game out. Well, they're playing in Chicago tonight, and it was close for a little bit. But, I mean, Detroit is one of those teams that you're not going to outwork them. And that's what they've learned from that series last year against New York. And they are just going to every game like it's game 6 or game 7. Whereas, to answer your question with San Antonio, what I'm hoping for this year, you don't want it to be in the playoffs. You want it to be when they had that 8-game win streak and they lost with the Jazz, had no energy. There was another game where they had a 6-game win streak and they lose that one at home. You want the Spurs to learn from that. You don't want it to be in the playoffs and then now we're having this talk next year about where they need to go at the beginning of the season. So that's what I'm hoping, Casey. I know exactly, what it is that you're saying with that question. I just don't want to see it happen in the playoffs.
Right. I probably phrased that poorly. I think need like you said, you don't need a heartbreaking playoff loss to happen. So let me rephrase that in the sense that how can something like that, not a need, how can you grow from something like that? That's a better way probably for me to articulate that question. But yeah, we'll see. That might, something like that, it propelled Detroit. And so if the Spurs, maybe not in heartbreaking fashion, but if they have that kind of growth moment, who knows what could look like this year? Hey, you know what? Who knows what it looks like at the end of this year, perhaps. I'm not sure. Hey, what I do know, Victor Wembanyama, another torrent evening tonight.
Sure.
This is the Locked On Player of the Game.
One more time for the people scoring at home as I drop my notes. 28-15, 6 assists, 4 blocks, 11 of 20 from the field, and 30 minutes of work. Have at it.
And congratulations to him. I have one problem, Casey, and there's rumblings about his new contract, and he's going to get the money. I just don't know if there's bonuses in there for 30-point games. Coach Mitch, when he's at 28, please let him get to 30 before you start taking him out. This is like the second or third time. So my point, Casey, is I know that Victor's going to get his money. Okay, I already know that.
Yeah.
But if there's bonuses in there for 30-plus games, oh, man, if I'm Vic, I'm upset. But he had a great game.
He did. I tell you what, when that contract cashes in and the second one, not this one, the one after that, I don't know with what the TV rights are going to look like, what it is, but that might be like $250 million contract. $250 million.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Contract. I don't know. That's a ways away. That's many of years away. And we'll have many of postcast and squad shows between then and now. The soonest postcast coming up in Detroit, or after the Detroit game, coming up Monday night. Devin and I will be there to recap and talk about one of the more highly anticipated games of the regular season for the San Antonio Spurs team. An exciting one at that. Be sure to come back on that at that conclusion. Where we'll be right here on Locked On Spurs, the Spurs postcast on Locked On Spurs, and Jeff Garcia, of course, keeping you up to date on the title pod every Monday through Friday. Thank you guys again, as usual. Another active hangout session, whether you be up in Austin on the way home or you just be sitting around like us and and having fun with that. You're the ones who make this fun, make this possible, and we appreciate all that you do and doing exactly that, as do the Spurs as well. 8-game win streak. They take care of business tonight against the Sacramento Kings and on their way to the Motor City. So for Mr. NBA champion Devin Brown, I'm Casey Viera. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday night, and we'll talk to you next week.